In this video, you learn how to make fast chord changes on guitar. Most instructional material on this topic tells you to just keep practicing changing between chord shapes and you'll become faster. In part this is true, however it's how you practice your chord changes as opposed to just practicing them over and over that will determine how fast you are at changing between them. Hi, this is Simon Candy from Acoustic Guitar Lessons Online.net. Do you struggle making chord changes on guitar? Does it feel like your fingers have a mind of their own when trying to do so? Well, don't worry, you're definitely not alone here. In this video, I show you 3 extremely effective strategies for making fast, smooth, and perfect chord changes on guitar. All 3 strategies combine to make it easy and effortless for you to do. So let's get into it. Okay, so the first strategy for fast, fluent, perfect chord changes on guitar. Okay, this is individual finger focus, okay? Perhaps for want of a better term, but hey, that's explaining what we're going to do here. So let's say I have a G chord and I change to my C chord. Let's use that chord change as an example here. Now typically what I see a lot when people play this particular chord change is they play G and then it's the first finger on first, then the second and the third. And then going back to G, it might be the first finger on again, and then the other fingers come down. The point is that when making the chord change, fingers are going on one after the other, okay? So if you keep just practicing that over and over and over again, that's what you'll get good at, making kind of inefficient changes between a G and a C, or whichever chord changes you might be working on at the time. We want the fingers to arrive at the notes of the chord you're going to at the same time. So this first strategy involves you putting your focus into a particular finger between the chord change. So if you're always finding that your first finger is first to arrive on the C chord, then when you change from the G to the C chord, focus on the second finger arriving first, then add the other fingers. Okay? So instead of this first finger going on, then 2 and 3, make it the second finger going on, then 1 and 3. And in doing that, that second finger is now becoming much more efficient as it goes from where it is in the G chord to the C chord. Don't worry about fingers 1 and 3 at this point. That doesn't matter. They can be as inefficient as whatever, okay? That's fine. We're just all about the individual finger focus. So the second finger from G going to the C. It's on the 3rd fret for the G. It's moving nice and efficiently to the 2nd fret, 4th string for C. Now, once you've done that a little bit, and focus also on it going back to G. So when you go from G to C, second finger focus on the same finger when you return to the G. Make sure it's first to arrive and it's nice and efficient. Do that a number of times. Then rotate your focus and choose another finger to track. So let's say I focus on my 3rd finger here. So here's my G chord. It's all about my 3rd finger now. So this 3rd finger on the 3rd fret 2nd string is going to go directly to where it needs to be for C, then the other 2 fingers can come in. Okay, so here's my G, here's my 3rd finger. Doesn't matter if it takes me longer, by the way. It will probably take you longer to make the chord change than how you would typically naturally do it. But that's fine. It's about efficiency here, not speed. Speed will be the result of doing certain things, such as focusing on efficiency. Okay, so don't worry about that. It will probably be a slower change to begin, but not for long. Okay, so you got your 3rd finger and it's going straight to where it needs to be for the C, and then 2nd and 1st fingers come in afterwards. That's fine again. And you just focus on tracking this finger. This is what it's doing, from where it is in G to where it needs to be in C. The other fingers work around it, but we don't care if they're a bit late on or anything like that. They're all getting their turn in the spotlight. Then I can shift my focus, after doing that a number of times, to the 1st finger. Make sure it's first on board with the C, going from G. So here it is in G, going nice and efficiently to C. And nice and efficiently back again. So the point is you give each finger its own individual focus. Just isolate it. All your fingers are moving between the chords, but you're particularly focused on one finger at a given time. Rotate your focus through each finger with the chord change and just make sure it's going efficient. Don't worry about the speed or anything like that at this point. Just nice and efficiently. And you'll find all those fingers will start to move more efficiently to the chord, and you'll start to be able to get the fingers arriving for the chord that you're after at the same time. So that's the first strategy, individual finger focus. Try it. It's going to help a lot in getting your fingers to move more efficiently between the chord changes. Okay, so the second strategy involves you training the fingers to fall onto the chord at the same time. Okay, it's a bit of a snapping type approach here of the fingers onto the chord. So let's start with the E minor chord. That will be the easiest one to do this with. So we know our E minor chord, right? Second, third fingers in the second fret on the fifth and fourth strings. Okay, so to begin, just form the shape and push the fingers into the fretboard. So, you're pushing into your strings here. You're feeling the strings in the fingers here, right? You're pushing much harder than you would ever want to push when fretting chords on the guitar for the purpose of our strategy here. Then after about 5-10 seconds, don't lose the shape, don't lift the fingers away, just relax the fingers. So if you were to strum, you get that sound, right? So they're now much less pressure than what you'd normally want, okay? So we're sort of the extremes here. Then repeat, reapply that pressure really hard, push into the fretboard. Just try and be careful not to push back with the thumb as hard, okay? The thumb's nice and relaxed on the back, but your fingers are certainly pushing into the fretboard here, imprinting that shape of the chord into your fingers, and then after about 5-10 seconds, relax. And you keep doing this, right? Rotate through the extreme pressure, pushing, imprinting the shape into the fingers. Fingers are pushing down at the same time. That's the key part to this strategy. They're pushing in at the same time and then relaxing. Now, after you do that a little bit, start to kind of repeat the process, but instead of relaxing the fingers, lift them away from the guitar. So there's daylight between your fingers and the strings. And then slowly bring them back down onto the strings in the position for the chord again. So it's kind of the same thing. You don't really have to push as hard perhaps this time, but the idea is to have a bit of daylight between your fingertips and then bring them down nice and slowly at the same time. You want to feel one point of contact between the fingers, not one and then the other. Now, as you do this a little bit more, you'll start to be able to snap the fingers down onto the chord shape. Now, with an E minor chord, this is probably going to happen quite quickly, but that's good. I want you to get the idea of this strategy first before trying it with some trickier chords, okay? So it's not really about making a sound, although naturally you will make a sound by hammering the fingers down. It's just about being able to get them to snap down onto the chord shape at the same time. So you start by putting the pressure on the fingers, relaxing, pressure on the fingers, relaxing. Then a little bit of daylight between the fingertips and the strings of the guitar. Then bringing them down, kind of sizing up the target. And then bang, seeing if you can accurately snap the fingers down onto the fretboard on the shape of the chord that you're after. Now, if you tried this with something like a C chord, it's probably going to be a little bit more challenging, but it's the same thing. You start with the pressure, pushing in really hard, holding, relaxing, repeating, getting that shape imprinted into your fingers. And even though you're not snapping the fingers down immediately, or even bringing them down from above the fretboard, they're already on the strings, just putting that pressure on all fingers at the same time, and then relaxing at the same time, then all at the same time. That's already starting to train those fingers to form that shape at the same time. And then again, daylight between the fingers, size up the target, bring them back down, make sure it's always one point of contact, and then snap them down. Now, when you're doing the snap down, particularly like on, a C chord, you're probably going to have a few shots and fingers end up off strings and inaccurate. That's okay. Go back to just sizing the target up again. Just train the fingers where you want them to go and then snap down again. Okay. And you'll get it. Okay. This, with the first strategy, will help get your fingers to arrive at the chord at the same time. In fact, this one here will have you forming your chords before you even put your fingers down on the fretboard. So if I go from a C to a G, my chord's already formed here, the shape of my fingers. I just got to lower it down onto the fretboard. And likewise, when I go back to C or to any chord, the chord's going to be formed in my fingers before my fingers even hit the strings of the fret and push them down onto the fretboard. That's what this technique will help you do. So that is the second strategy for fast, smooth, perfect chord changes. Okay, the third and final strategy is probably a little bit more known or practiced, perhaps, obvious maybe, but it is common fingers and common formations. Okay, so what is a common finger? It's basically if you do a common note between chords, basically. So if you don't need to lift a finger away, don't lift it away, because all you're going to do is put it right back on where it was. So for example, if I have a G chord and I'm going to change from a G to a D chord, that third finger in the third fret on the second string does not need to move. Now, even if you initially make a slower chord change because you're really focused on keeping that third finger down because it just wants to pop up, take longer to make the chord change. It's not about speed here, it's about efficiency. That will equal fast chord changes. Just trying to play fast, the faster you try and play, the more inefficient your fingers will move, the worse the chord change will be. And then you'll just practice that and get good at inefficient, slow, painful, frustrating chord changes. Keep your third finger on if it doesn't need to move, or any finger that's going to be common between both chords. Be aware that it doesn't need to move, and then train it to not move between the chords. So my third finger here does not move from its position between a G and a D chord. What's another example? Let's say I play an A chord. This first finger does not need to move when I go to a D chord. Okay, A to D. And in fact, with that change, the third finger, which is on the second string, second fret, doesn't need to move from the string. It just needs to slide up. So between an A and a D, the only finger that has to come off the fretboard is the second finger. The first stays where it is, the third slides up a fret, the second then goes down to the second fret, first string. There's our D chord. When we go back, second finger is the only one that comes off again. Slide the third back in. That first finger will move within the fret to allow and accommodate the third finger in and out. That's fine. And the second finger goes back on. Nice, efficient chord change. Okay. There's tons of examples. Just look at the chord changes you're working with, or the chord change, and see, is there a common finger? If there is, don't move it. Make a nice efficient chord change. If there's a finger like the third finger here that is staying on the string, but moving just up a fret or so, don't take it away to only put it right next door in the next fret. Just relax it and slide it across to its new position. You're looking for super efficient finger motions. That's the key to making easy, fast, perfect, smooth chord changes. The other one is common formations. So whilst two chords or more may not have common fingers all the time, there are often common formations, and here's a really common one. If I play a C chord, the first and second fingers are in a particular formation for that C chord. If I go to a G chord, here they are in the same formation. If I go to an E chord, here they are again in the same formation. If I go to a B7, once again, same formation. So sometimes they're on non-adjacent strings, like in the C or the E chord. Other times, like the G and the B7, they're on adjacent strings, but they've still got this same formation about them, the first and second fingers. So if that's the case, that helps to realize that, and you can kind of carry those fingers together from one chord to the next that shares the finger formation there. Basically, this whole third strategy is about looking at the two chords, the chord change, and looking at what commonalities these chords share. And quite often there'll be a common note, or there'll be a common formation like the 1-2 finger formation I highlighted there, or sometimes it's a finger that's going to move to a different fret position but not move from the string. So don't pick it up right off the string to just place it right next door. Okay, so always really policing the fingers as you go from one chord to another for really efficient motions. Each of these strategies here, the individual finger focus, the snapping down of the chord change or the chord shape, and the common things that any two chords will share between each other, are all designed, and the purpose or the idea is to practice each one. There's no one strategy. Spend time in each. Okay, so sometimes it's as little as 3 minutes. You know, it doesn't have to be long, but rotate through each of those. And once you've got the chord change, you're done. You've got it for life. Okay, and you've got many songs under your fingers if you've got good chord changes down. Okay, so work with each one of those strategies. They work, believe me. Okay, just really focus. Engage your mind with your fingers. Don't just sit there mindlessly making chord changes. If it's inefficient motions that you continue to repeat over and over, that's what you'll get good at, and you'll never get quick with your chord changes. Okay, so that is the key to making fast, fluent, and perfect chord changes on guitar. Ready to learn more great chords for your guitar playing? then check out this free ebook I've created for you simply titled Block Chords. Block chords are a great next step after learning open and bar chords and will lift your chord playing to a whole new level. In this ebook, you learn the 3 main block chord types for your guitar playing and how to create great music with each. You learn how to best visualize these shapes on your guitar so you never forget them. It's as easy as changing one single note in each block chord shape. You also learn a system for easily relating the block chord shapes to each other all over the fretboard so you can play any chord you like in any position with ease. So click the link in the description below this video to download your free ebook audio block chords. Let me know in the comments section what acoustic guitar topics you'd like to see covered in future videos. I read every comment and I would love to hear your suggestions. If you like this video, then hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And of course, hit that all-important notification bell button so YouTube can tell you when I've released a new video. This is Simon Candy from acousticguitarlessonsonline.net. As always, thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate your time and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.